What if the very pain you're running from is the exact thing trying to move you forward? What if the tears, the setbacks, the sleepless nights were not the end of your story, but the secret beginning of something far greater? Too often people believe that pain is punishment. They believe it's a curse, a sign they have failed, or that life is unfair. But here's the truth. Pain is not punishment. Pain is a signal. It is the body, the mind, and the spirit whispering or sometimes shouting that you are on the edge of transformation. If you learn how to listen to it, you can turn that pain into undeniable progress. Think about history for a moment. The greatest breakthroughs didn't come in comfort. They came in moments of despair, crisis, and pressure. Some of the world's most successful people were born not from privilege, but from hardship. What if you discovered that the very thing breaking your heart today could become the reason you rise tomorrow? What if your darkest chapter is the page that leads to your greatest success? That is what we're going to explore in this video. You see, most people misunderstand pain. They think it's something to escape, to numb, to avoid at all costs. But avoidance only delays destiny. Pain always has a message. When you ignore it, the message grows louder. But when you face it, the message becomes clear. This is the secret most people never realize. Pain is feedback. It is life telling you this needs to change. You are being called to grow. And if you can decode that message, your entire life shifts. In this video, you're going to learn how to take the weight you're carrying right now, the disappointments, the struggles, the betrayals, and use them as raw fuel for progress. We'll talk about the hidden cost of growth, the 3 rings of change that most people never hear about, and the small shifts that transform struggle into strength. And here's the suspense. You may discover that what you thought was holding you back has been shaping you into someone unstoppable all along. This isn't just theory. It's the reality that few people are brave enough to face. Most stop at the edge of discomfort. Most give up when it hurts. But if you stay with me until the end of this video, you'll walk away with tools you can use immediately. You'll understand why your hardest days carry the greatest lessons, and how to turn setbacks into setups for a comeback. The pain you are experiencing today can be the very proof that you are on the path to progress. So don't click away. Don't let your mind drift. What we're going to unpack here could be the shift that turns your season of struggle into a season of growth. Because the truth is, you're not here by accident. You pressed play because something in you knows you're capable of more. You're looking for meaning in the hardship, and deep down, you know this isn't the end. It's a turning point. Welcome to Habits of Greatness, the channel where we take the teachings of Brendon Burchard and uncover the timeless principles of success, growth, and transformation. If you're ready to turn your pain into progress, if you're ready to stop running and start rising, then you're in the right place. Subscribe now, join our community of learners and leaders, and let's begin this journey together. Because what if your pain wasn't the end, but the beginning? Before we talk about the lessons hidden inside your struggles, we first need to understand why pain feels so overwhelming. Because let's be honest, when you're in the middle of it, when you're hurting, when everything seems like it's falling apart, it doesn't feel like growth. It doesn't feel like progress. It feels heavy. It feels endless. It feels like you're carrying a weight that no one else can see but you, and that weight presses down on every part of your life. Pain can stop you in your tracks. It can make even the simplest things feel impossible. Waking up in the morning, making decisions, even having conversations can suddenly feel like climbing a mountain. That's why most people treat pain like a stop sign. The moment they encounter hurt, whether it's physical pain, emotional heartbreak, failure in business, or betrayal in relationships, they freeze. They assume this is the signal to stop, to back away, to avoid, and in many ways, that instinct is natural. Our minds are wired for survival, and survival says move away from pain, don't touch the fire, don't step into the storm. But here's what very few people realize. Sometimes the fire is the very thing that forges you. Sometimes the storm is the very place you discover your strength. Pain feels overwhelming because it disrupts your sense of certainty. You think you know who you are, where you're going, how things should unfold, and then pain enters the picture, and suddenly everything you believed about yourself, about others, or about the future is shaken. That loss of certainty feels like a loss of identity, and that's why it hurts so much. It's not just the immediate discomfort, it's the fear that you can't handle what comes next. It's the fear that the future won't get better. But here's the truth. Pain is not the end. It's a turning point. Think back to some of the most meaningful changes in your life. Were they born out of comfort? Were they born out of easy, happy moments? No. The shifts, the breakthroughs, the transformations, they came when something wasn't working. They came when you faced rejection, when you lost, when you hit rock bottom. That's when the questions came. Who am I? What do I really want? What must I change? And it was in those moments of pain that you found answers you never would have searched for otherwise. I've seen this in people again and again. They lose a job they thought defined them. At first, they're crushed. They feel worthless, terrified, stuck. But months later, they look back and say, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. Why? Because the pain pushed them to discover talents, to build resilience, to chase a dream they'd buried under routine. Or think about someone who goes through heartbreak. In the middle of it, the loneliness feels unbearable. They question their worth, but in time, that heartbreak becomes the catalyst for self-discovery, for higher standards, for stronger boundaries. The pain that felt like an ending became the beginning of a new chapter. What makes pain overwhelming is that we resist it. We tell ourselves, this shouldn't be happening. I shouldn't feel this way. My life shouldn't look like this. And that resistance creates even more suffering. The pain is real, yet, but the story we attach to it, that it means we're broken or doomed or unworthy, that's what makes it unbearable. When we stop fighting the fact that pain exists, when we start asking, what is this trying to teach me? Suddenly the overwhelm softens, suddenly the weight shifts. Let's take a deeper look at why pain feels so dominant in our minds. First, because it demands our attention. Think about it. If you stub your toe, your brain immediately focuses there. Pain is designed to get you to notice something's wrong. Emotional pain works the same way. It grabs your attention. It shouts at you. It refuses to be ignored. And that's not because life is cruel. It's because your growth is calling. That discomfort is saying, don't stay here, don't settle, don't keep repeating this pattern. Second, pain feels overwhelming because it isolates you. You start to believe you're the only one struggling, that no one could possibly understand what you're going through. That sense of isolation magnifies the weight. But in reality, pain is the most human experience we share. Everyone knows loss. Everyone knows rejection. Everyone knows failure. The details may be different, but the feelings are universal. When you realize that, pain becomes less like a prison and more like a bridge, connecting you to others, reminding you that you're not alone in the journey. Third, pain overwhelms because it challenges your sense of control. We love feeling in control of our lives. We want certainty, predictability, order. Pain strips that away. Suddenly the plan you built for your future doesn't work anymore. Suddenly the person you trusted betrays you. Suddenly your health changes and you feel helpless. But here's the reframe. Pain doesn't mean you've lost all control. It means you have an opportunity to redirect control, to focus on what you can do next, not what you can't change. The key shift is to stop treating pain as a stop sign and start treating it as a signal. Think about driving. When you see a stop sign, you stop. And most people interpret pain the same way. They stop dreaming, stop trying, stop believing. But what if you treated pain not as a stop sign, but as a yield sign? It means pause, pay attention, and then proceed with greater awareness. That's the secret. Pain isn't saying stop forever. It's saying slow down, notice what's happening, and then keep going in a new, better direction. And let's be clear. Pain will visit everyone. No one is exempt. The difference between those who rise and those who sink is how they interpret it. One person says, this is the end. Another person says, this is the lesson. Same pain, different meaning, completely different life outcomes. So when you ask, why does pain feel overwhelming? The answer is simple. Because it matters, because it's supposed to grab your attention, because it's supposed to wake you up, and because it's supposed to move you toward progress. The overwhelm isn't a punishment. It's a signal that something important is happening. Something in you is being challenged to grow stronger, wiser, more resilient. And if you can see pain as a turning point instead of an end point, then what once felt unbearable becomes the very path to your breakthrough. The hidden message in pain is one that most people never slow down long enough to hear. We are conditioned to run from it, to hide from it, to distract ourselves the moment discomfort shows up. The pain at its core is feedback. It is life's way of holding up a mirror and saying, something here needs your attention. When your body aches, it's often telling you to rest, to move differently, to care for yourself in a way you've been ignoring. When your heart hurts, it's usually pointing to patterns in relationships, choices in trust, or standards you have allowed that no longer serve you. And when your spirit feels heavy, it's almost always revealing that you've drifted too far from your values, your purpose, or the vision you once carried. Pain is not random. It's not chaos. It's a messenger. It shows you what needs to change, whether it's your habits, your mindset, or your path. Maybe it's the habit of overcommitting, constantly saying yes to everyone else while leaving no time for yourself. Eventually, exhaustion turns into resentment, and resentment is pain speaking loudly. Maybe it's the mindset of perfectionism, of believing that nothing you do is ever enough. That mindset generates constant anxiety, and anxiety is pain screaming, stop chasing approval and start honoring progress. Or maybe it's the path you've been walking, staying in a job that drains you, a relationship that diminishes you, a lifestyle that doesn't match who you truly are. That kind of misalignment produces a quiet but relentless ache, and that ache is feedback. But here's where many people get stuck. They hear the feedback, but they don't act on it. They sit in the pain, interpret it only as suffering, and never recognize it as instruction. Pain is a teacher, but only if you're willing to learn. And learning means change, which leads us directly into the cost of progress. Change always comes with a cost. It's easy to romanticize growth, to talk about transformation as if it's a beautiful, effortless evolution. But the truth, growth is disruptive. It tears away the familiar. It strips down the comfortable, and it demands payment in three currencies: uncertainty, judgment, and struggle. Uncertainty is the first cost. When you step away from what you know, even if what you know is painful, you step into the unknown. And that is terrifying. You leave the job, but you don't know where your career is headed. You end the relationship, but you don't know if you'll find love again. You change your habits, but you don't know if you'll succeed. That lack of guarantee is uncomfortable. But uncertainty is the birthplace of possibility. Without it, you're locked in the prison of sameness. Judgment is the second cost. The moment you decide to grow, people will notice. Some will cheer you on, but others will question, criticize, or even ridicule. Why? Because your growth shines a light on their stagnation. Your courage exposes their comfort, and instead of joining you, many would rather pull you back down. If you let the fear of judgment stop you, you'll never taste progress. And then there's struggle, the third cost. Change takes effort. It requires discipline, sacrifice, repetition. You will stumble. You will fail. You will face days when it feels easier to quit. Struggle is not a sign you're doing it wrong. It's proof you're in the process of doing it right. Anyone who tells you growth is painless is selling a fantasy. The reality is that struggle is the toll you pay for transformation. Now, here's the key. Accepting these costs is what turns pain into progress. The moment you stop resisting uncertainty, stop fearing judgment, stop avoiding struggle, pain transforms. It becomes the bridge to the life you want. That bridge takes us to the tension between comfort and growth. The comfort zone feels safe. It feels familiar. You know the rules, you know the rhythms, you know what to expect. And because of that, it feels tempting to stay. But comfort comes with a hidden cost. Stagnation. You don't move forward. You don't expand. You live the same day over and over and call it a life. Growth, on the other hand, demands discomfort. It asks you to step into situations where you don't have all the answers. It requires you to confront fear, to take risks, to feel the sting of failure. Pain is not the enemy here. It is the bridge between the two. It is the proof that you have left comfort behind and stepped into growth. Brendon's model of the 3 rings of change makes this crystal clear. The first ring is comfort. In this ring, you experience no pain, but you also experience no progress. You're safe, but you're stagnant. Life feels predictable, but also unfulfilling. The second ring is demand. This is where pressure lives, where challenge shows up, where pain is most intense. This is where you're tested, stretched, and refined. And it's in this ring that real growth happens. The third ring is content. This is not comfort. It's deeper. It's the peace that comes after you've endured the demand, after you've grown, after you've proven to yourself that you're stronger than you imagined. Pain is the signal that you've entered the second ring. It's the evidence that you are no longer stuck in the illusion of comfort. But in order to move through these rings, you need mindset shifts. Without them, pain will paralyze you. With them, pain will propel you. The first mindset shift is to recognize that pain is not punishment. It's progress in disguise. Life isn't picking on you. Life isn't out to get you. Life is shaping you. The second mindset shift is to see failure not as the end, but as feedback. Every misstep, every rejection, every setback is data. It's information guiding you to try differently, to adapt, to refine. Without failure, you never learn. Without learning, you never grow. And the third mindset shift is to reframe struggle. Too many people believe struggle means they're weak or unworthy, but the truth, struggle is proof you're moving forward. Think about a seed pushing through the soil. It struggles against the darkness, against the weight, against the pressure, but that struggle is the only way it can break into the light. Struggle is not the enemy of growth. Struggle is the evidence of it. When you combine these shifts with the understanding of the rings, everything changes. You stop asking, why me? And start asking, what now? You stop seeing pain as a reason to quit and start seeing it as the very path you're supposed to walk. You stop living in fear of judgment and uncertainty and begin to welcome them as the companions of growth. Pain has always been more than discomfort. It has always been the teacher, the feedback, the toll, the bridge, the signal, and the proof. The moment you realize that, the way you experience pain changes forever. The process of turning pain into power is not about denying what hurts or pretending that it doesn't matter. It begins with acknowledging the reality of it. Step 1 is to feel the pain. That sounds simple, but it's one of the hardest steps for most people. We live in a world full of tits, numbing agents, and escape routes, social media, television, food, substances. All of these are ways people try to avoid pain. But avoiding what you feel only buries it deeper. And what's buried will eventually resurface, often with greater force. To truly turn pain into progress, you must allow yourself to feel it fully. That means admitting to yourself, I'm hurting. I feel lost. This matters to me. There is incredible strength in honesty, because you can't heal what you refuse to feel. Step 2 is to pause and reflect. Once you've allowed yourself to feel, you need to create space for reflection. This is where many people rush. They want to move straight from pain to action. But without reflection, action becomes reaction. And reaction often leads to repeating the same mistakes. Reflection is the space where you ask, why is this happening? What is this showing me? Where am I misaligned? What part of my life needs to be addressed? This pause is not weakness. It's wisdom. It's in reflection that meaning begins to emerge from suffering. Step 3 is to learn the lesson. Pain without learning is just suffering. Pain with learning becomes progress. Every painful event, every setback, every failure contains information. Maybe the lesson is about boundaries, where you need to stop saying yes to the wrong people. Maybe the lesson is about effort, how consistency matters more than bursts of energy. Maybe the lesson is about self-respect, self-care, or self-belief. Whatever it is, the key is to extract the wisdom. If you don't, life will keep sending you the same pain until you do. Step 4 is to take action. This is where progress begins to show. And it's not enough to simply understand the lesson, you must apply it. Action can be small. It can be as simple as having one honest conversation, making one new choice, setting one new boundary, or it can be big, a career shift, a lifestyle change, a bold new project. The size of the action doesn't matter as much as the fact that it's aligned with the lesson you've learned. Action is where reflection becomes transformation. And then comes step 5, gain new strength. This is the part most people don't realize until they look back. They notice that the very thing they thought would break them actually made them stronger, wiser, and more resilient. They see that the storm they feared was the training ground that prepared them for greater things. New strength doesn't arrive overnight. It grows through the cycle of feeling, reflecting, learning, and acting. Each time you go through this process, you emerge stronger. That is the essence of turning pain into power. But to live this cycle consistently, you need tools. Tools anchor the process, giving it structure and clarity. One of the simplest yet most powerful tools is journaling. Writing allows you to slow down your thoughts, capture your emotions, and find clarity in the chaos. When you journal, you're not just recording events, you're translating pain into language. You're asking, what is this teaching me? And writing down the answers. Over time, journaling reveals patterns and breakthroughs you may have missed in the rush of daily life. Another tool is gratitude. It may feel counterintuitive to practice gratitude in moments of pain, but this is when it matters most. Gratitude doesn't erase the hurt. It simply balances your perspective. It shifts your focus from only what's lost to also what remains. In the middle of heartbreak, gratitude reminds you of the friends who still stand by you. In the midst of failure, gratitude reminds you of the skills, lessons, and opportunities still available. Gratitude softens the edge of pain and makes space for hope. Then there are small wins. When you're hurting, the big picture can feel overwhelming. Thinking about fixing your whole life at once creates pressure and paralysis. Small wins break that pressure. They give you progress you can see and celebrate. It might be finishing a workout, completing a project, making a phone call, or simply showing up on time. Each small win tells your brain, I'm moving forward. And those wins stack up, building momentum and motivation. We don't just learn this from theory, we see it in real life. There are countless examples of people who turned heartbreak into purpose. Someone loses a loved one and decides to dedicate their life to helping others heal. In their deepest grief, they discover a mission bigger than themselves. Others experience failure that feels like devastation. They lose a business, a career, or a dream, but that failure becomes the exact push that drives them into something greater. Think of the countless entrepreneurs, leaders, and creators who will tell you, if I hadn't failed there, I wouldn't be here. Ordinary pain has led to extraordinary progress. Time and time again, the thread is always the same. They didn't stop at the pain, they moved through it. Of course, the journey isn't easy. Staying resilient through pain requires commitment. The first rule of resilience is this: don't numb the pain. Don't run to temporary escapes that only prolong the healing. Instead, face it. Look it in the eye. Say, I see you, I hear you, and I will use you. The second rule is to build habits of resilience, daily routines that ground you when life feels unstable. A morning ritual, exercise, meditation, prayer, reflection. These small habits create a foundation that can withstand the storms. The third rule is to lean on support. Resilience doesn't mean going it alone. It means knowing when to reach out, when to share the burden, when to accept help. Pain will pass. That's important to remember. No storm lasts forever. But progress remains. The lessons you learn, the strength you build, the character you forge, those stay with you for life. Pain is temporary, growth is permanent, and resilience is what carries you across that bridge. So, where do you begin? Start with one call to action. Choose one area of pain in your life right now. Don't pick everything. Pick one. Ask yourself, what is this teaching me? Sit with the question. Write it down, reflect on it, and then take one step. Not 10, not 100, just one step toward progress. That step may be uncomfortable, it may even be scary, but it will be forward, and forward is how you turn pain into power. Pain is not your enemy, it's your teacher. Every struggle you faced, Every setback you've carried, every difficult season you've walked through has been shaping a stronger, wiser, more resilient you. The moments that felt like endings were really beginnings in disguise. The challenges that felt unbearable were carving out the strength you'll need for the next level of your life. So don't run from your pain. Listen to it, learn from it, and let it move you forward. Remember this: turn your pain into progress. Your future self is waiting. If this message spoke to you today, make sure to like this video and subscribe to Habits of Greatness so you never miss the tools and inspiration that can help you keep growing